Well, good afternoon and welcome to the West Ham Daily. Never a dull moment at West Ham United, is there? If there isn't any trouble to create, we make our own. We make our own. Now, look, I know Anton and Russ did the review of the Watford game last night, and I know they didn't want to talk about the Zouma situation, and fair play. But I think it's important to sort of have a little chat about it. And as I said in the description of today's video, this isn't going to be a rant. This isn't going to be on I'm outraged sort of video about what happened. We all know that it was wrong, absolutely wrong. As you know, regular viewers will know, I've got a couple of cats, and if I went anywhere near them in that manner, I think the other half will chop my balls off, and rightly so. So it's not about looking to condone Zouma's behaviour. He was absolutely wrong, and the penalty that he will get. He's lost his sponsorship deal with Adidas. He's been fined 2 weeks' wages, which is the maximum that a player can be fined for any misdemeanour. And the cats have been. He's taken the cats to the RSPCA, and they've checked the cats, to make sure that they're okay, etc. And they'll be holding onto his two cats until the whole investigation is done and dusted. So we know what's happened. We know it was absolutely wrong. But I think for me, it's more about the dilemma that David Moyes has now put himself in. And I'll explain why. First of all, I just talked about the Adidas. By the way, this isn't going to be a long video. It's going to be quite a short one, because how much can you talk about this? But anyway, first of all, Adidas, as I've said, they've ended the sponsorship deal with Kurt Zouma. But now some of the sponsors of West Ham have also ended their sponsorship deal. Vitality, the Wellness Partners, and Experience Kissimmee have both ended their relationship with West Ham. And West Ham have got quite a number of quite high-profile sponsors. Obviously, Betway, the shirt sponsors, Umbro, Eva Air, Heineken, amongst others, etc. And there could be the possibility of some other sponsors following suit. So first of all, that's the dilemma that David Moyes and West Ham United as a team, as a club, have put themselves in. They put themselves in a position where they can now be scrutinised in this way. Now, look, there are other players, other footballers around who do things wrong and they get suspended, etc., etc. And I don't want to go too much into it, but the most recent case, Mason Greenwood, for what he did, the difference being is Man United immediately suspended the player, and it's almost to take the sting out of it. That's serious, etc. But they did the right thing straight away. And I think that the dilemma that Moyes has put us in, or the club has put us in, is the fact that Kurt Zouma was selected to play against Watford on Tuesday night. And I think this is why there's been probably more of an outcry from maybe the sponsors, etc., than there should have been. Because had David Moyes or had the club decided that Kurt Zouma was not going to be available for the Watford game on Tuesday night, perhaps that might have eased the tension a bit. There would have still been an outcry, and rightly so, for what Zouma did, etc. But perhaps it might have just eased the tension a little bit. But the fact that Kurt Zouma was chosen to play almost was as if and I think Moyes said, I'm here to manage the team and to get results and pick the best team, etc. I get that. But here's why I think there's a dilemma with David Moyes. David Moyes has got this mantra. He's a very honest manager. He's a very honest football person. And, I've said this before about, when other teams have been crying wolf about COVID and having one player getting COVID and then asking for games to be postponed. David Moyes has persevered, and he's an honest manager. He's, played the games, etc., and so on. Also, whenever there's a decision being made on the pitch, you look at sometimes the way we're being challenged on the pitch. Players try to stay on their feet, apart from Yarmolenko against Kidderminster. Players normally try to stay on the feet. They try and play in the honest way that David Moyes has created. He's created an honest team. And when it comes to having players in his squad, he wants honest footballers. He wants footballers that have a certain level of etiquette, a certain level of he wants fans to look up to these footballers. And by picking Kurt Zouma for Tuesday, kind of smacks that, is everything that David Moyes is not about. And I think that's why he's now created a bit of a noose around his neck. Look at the transfers. He goes on about, I only want players. I don't want to pad out the squad with players, etc. And I want to make the squad better, etc. by getting better players in. But also, he gets honest players in as well. He buys players that have a certain etiquette about them. What's he now going to do with Kurt Zouma? What's going to happen? I mean, moving forward, my understanding is that he will continue to pick him. I think there was talk about maybe him being dropped for the Leicester game, but it sounds like now he won't be dropped. But what message does that say about, the quality of the footballer, not just in this quality of how he plays the game, but, what goes on in his head about his standing in society, etc. What does that say about Moyes and his criteria of the kind of footballers that he wants at the club? I don't know. I think that's the problem. I think now the finger is going to be pointed all the time where maybe David Moyes has double standards. And that would be a shame because he has built an honest squad. He has built a squad of players where you want to look up to them. You look at the players he's brought in, Craig Dawson, etc., and other players like that, where we look up at them and say they're footballers, they're good footballers, and they live in a certain way. They go with the mantra that David Moyes wants. He wants them to adopt the right attitude, the right approach, not only on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. He won't bring in troublemakers. He won't bring in players that will put the club into disrepute. And now he's got a footballer that's brought the club into disrepute. So what's he going to do with him? Will he continue to play him? I dare say he will. I think he showed his cards on Tuesday night after the game, and he said, "I'm here to pick the best team to win a game." And he went on and said, I understand all this about, cruelty to animals, and I'm against it, etc., etc., etc. But the bottom line is David Moyes is there to pick the best team to win games. Is he right? Should he have played Kurt Zouma on Tuesday? Might it have maybe, if he hadn't have picked him, and whatever the result might have been, if he had not picked him, would it have just eased the tension a little bit? I think maybe it would have done. And I think maybe David Moyes wouldn't have put this sort of like this noose around his neck now that, that he only has, he only wants certain players, certain caliber of players at the club, not just caliber in playing, but also caliber in how they uphold themselves in society. What it means, because you look at these footballers, youngsters, impressionable people, look at these footballers, and they are, rightly or wrongly, they get taken in by what footballers do on and off the pitch. Youngsters want to emulate their idols. Youngsters want to do what the Ronaldos of this world and what the Kurt Zoumas of this world and what the Declan Rices of this world and other prominent footballers do. And what does it say to them by David Moyes having picked Kurt Zouma? Oh, well, it's all right then, isn't it? If I hurt an animal, if I do something wrong, I'm not going to get immediately punished. Oh, well, I've got a fine. What does it say to people that look at footballers and in order to sort of live by their mantra? I think Moyes was wrong. Regardless of what would have happened if we played Watford without Zouma, I think he was wrong to have picked him. I think it would have sent out the right message. Give him that one game ban, or the club should have, the board should have intervened and said, "Sorry, David, Zouma is not playing in this game. You're very welcome to play him in the next one, but right now, let's take the heat out of the situation, and you shouldn't be picking him." Because I just think moving forward now, Moyes has got, he's got this problem, because he's now got to live by the decision he's made. Because even though he said the right things about, doesn't like animal cruelty, etc., etc., by picking Kurt Zouma, I think he's made a problem for him. He's made a problem for the club as well. Now, as you see, the sponsors are coming in, the huge backlash in society. And I know I don't want to demean it because, cruelty to animals, regardless, it is bad. But Antonio said today when he was asked in an interview, it wasn't really an interview. He was caught out by a reporter. Yeah, Antonio said, is this any worse than things like racism, etc., in football? And no, they're all everything is as bad. But you can't defend what happened. But Moyes could have deflated the situation a little bit if he hadn't picked him. I don't know. It's a situation now that we're going to watch carefully. I wonder now if Moyes is a man of standards. Whether he picks Zouma or not for the rest of the season is up to him. But I just wonder whether Zouma will be a player that will be sacrificed in the summer, and West Ham United will let him go. I think maybe he'll do that. But is the board expecting, or is David Moyes expecting this all to calm down? It probably will. There'll be another story to complain about or to talk about tomorrow, the day after. I'm sure someone else is going to come out and do something a little bit stupid. But I just wish that Moyes had done the right thing. Like I said, Man United, with the Mason Greenwood situation, they stamped on it immediately. They suspended him and they said, right, that you're not playing for the club again until we establish what's happened there. All that David Moyes had to do was to keep the integrity of the football club and of West Ham United, was just to say, you're sitting this one out, we'll bring you back in for the Leicester game. But the fact that he didn't do that, I think it's created this toxic environment around Kurt. Again, don't get me wrong. I think what he did was absolutely wrong, and rightly so. He should be, fined, and as he has been. And I think he should still go on some kind of I don't know, seminar course, whatever it is, about animal cruelty. I believe he is also a patron or something, or ambassador of a Lions charity, and so he should have known better, really. So all that sort of stuff, being fined, etc., I think was the right thing to do. He should have not played. Moyes should have said to him, I'm giving you a 1-game ban because of what's happened, and let the dust settle and then bring you back in for Leicester. By the fact that he didn't do that, I think has just made the situation a little bit worse. Let's see who's in the chat. Kaiser, I'm hoping the RSPCA find that the cats are unharmed. They've already said that they are unharmed and returned to him. They won't be returned until this investigation is completed. He's been punished and hopefully learned his lesson. So many haters trying to use this to undermine us. They are, of course, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. And people are saying, oh, well, it happened while he was at Chelsea. Well, it doesn't really matter, really, does it? Whether he was at Chelsea or whether it was at West Ham, it's happened. And what was his brother thinking of? Why on earth was his brother? There you go, Richard. Why was his brother thinking positive? Why even? I mean, his brother should also go on some sort of seminar, some sort of course about animal cruelty too. And what does it say about, Zouma's young, was it his young son in the video? That, it's all right to do this to animals, really awful. Thunder and Joy. Cats will give more rights than humans beings next. Fine him. Give home some community service with RSPCA and let's move on. Yeah, it wasn't about that. Everything that you said is fine there. My issue is what Moyes has done about the integrity of West Ham by actually playing Zouma on Tuesday. I think he could have cushioned the blow a little bit, or whatever you want to use, by not picking him. I think it would have been the right thing to do, to say, sit the Watford game out. That's your 1-game ban. And I think the problem is, I think the whole thing has been really sort of, really made even worse is because Zouma played. Good afternoon, Father Snowman. I hope you're well. Glenn, it's really down to the board to hand out punishment. Moyes is an employee of the club. The board have been very weak. Greenwood was banned instantly. There you go, by Man United. Nothing to do with the manager. Well, then the board should have intervened, and should have told David Moyes, you can't pick him for the next game. Father Snowman, no dilemma here. You paid millions on transfer fees. If fit, he plays every game. Morals are right. And if Premier League think he should be banned, then ban him. Morals nothing to do with football. I get that. But it was in the hands of the club, in the hands of David Moyes, to just tell him, you're sitting this game out. And I think that would have helped immensely with the whole situation. Glenn, Zouma can never keep any animals ever. I'd question his parenting skills. Showing a young child that hurting anything is acceptable. Glenn again, I'm not comparing with Greenwood. I'm just saying that at board level it has to be handled. I agree with that. I think it did have to be handled. Hammerette, good afternoon. Zouma talk still going on. Bet others love him stealing the limelight right now. I hope there's an end to it after this, after today. I was at two minds, whether to do the video or not, because there's been an awful lot said about it, but I was trying to put a different angle on it. I'm not talking about what he did. It was absolutely wrong. The fine, etc. I think he should. I think the thing that I'm getting at is the whole thing about integrity. I think Moyes has damaged his integrity by letting Kurt Zouma play. I get what other people are saying. He's a footballer, etc., and you bet your best team plays and so on. But I think it could have been the integrity of David Moyes' integrity has been called into question, to be honest with you. And when he comes out and says, I don't want to buy players that are going to disrupt the board, the dressing room and all that sort of stuff, you kind of think now you had an opportunity to show your integrity, to show your moral level, and what you could have done was not play him. Even if it had damaged us in the game, I think it would have been the right thing to do. James, good afternoon to you. Garino, afternoon, everyone. Anyone see what? Yeah, Antonio, right to say, and he wasn't belittling what Zouma did, but it's the irony, isn't it? Where that if you do something that's like a racial slur, etc., you would have got fined less than what Zouma got fined for what he did. Evan, Antonio pulled the reverse UNO card. Hammerette, Garino, hi, yeah. Not sure Moyes will be happy with him speaking of it, though. Probably not, but Moyes could have, like I said, this was down to Moyes to sort of take Zouma out of the limelight in a way and say, you're out of this game, wait until the weekend to play. Steve, good afternoon to you. Hammerette, great to see Manu playing against Watford. Yeah, I thought he was out for a while. Hazari, good afternoon to you, mate. I hope you're well. Garino, don't make Antonio wrong, though. I think he was right to call out the media. Yeah, absolutely right. Good afternoon, Clive. I hope you're well. Be careful when you drive, mate. Hazari, I think what Zouma done was terrible, but what has that got to do with his career? Well, you can see how it's all linked, Hazari. Now, do I think it's right for the sponsors to do what they did? They have a right to do so, I guess. Bit funny, really, isn't it? The Kissimmee sponsors who cage up dolphins for people's pleasure, fun. Look, I'm not saying that they mistreat them, but it's just a little bit ironic. But anyway, good afternoon, Yuha. I hope you're well. Duke, I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. GP, how are you? John, how are you, mate? Afternoon, I hope you're well. Hammerette, Moyes has shown balls by playing him straight after this came out. Points in football first over something a player has done in the past outside. This is where I do disagree with you. I think he's the whole integrity thing for me is called into question. I think he made the wrong choice, to be quite honest with you. Yanka, good afternoon to you. Nigel will be happy to get him dropped from Umbro, get a better kit. Garino, hated what he did. I've catched myself, but most people deserve a second chance as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about, all this rubbish about sacking him and this, that, and the other. I think the fine was the right thing to do. I think he should do some community service with some sort of animal charity, etc. I think he should go on some sort of course about animal cruelty and the impact it has. But I just think the thing that was missing for me was that he shouldn't have played on Tuesday. I think that called David Moyes' thinking into question, his integrity into question. But, if you guys have differing opinions, then I'm more than happy to hear about them. Hazari, and he'll be in it because if that was a builder, it wouldn't have his career taken away. Trial by media. Well, unfortunately, trial by video that his stupid brother put up, Robert. David M. Zouma problem. Hi, still Zouma problem, but after Tuesday has now become a West Ham problem. And this is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. It was initially a Zouma problem, and now by the fact that he played on Tuesday, it's now become a West Ham problem. Let's get rid of that. Block the user. Thank you very much. If this was a player from an opposing team, we'd probably all be calling for him to be sacked. I wouldn't be, but I get your point. Yuha. I think Moyes has shown weakness, not balls at all. I agree. Shame. I'm no longer a hammer, just a nail. I think you're right, Yuha. I think this was wrong of him to have chosen Zouma to play skipper. It's now got to a point where we're being hit financially with lots of sponsors who will be picking that up. Probably us fans. Yeah, good point. GP. They should have banned him for 9 games. No, that's extreme. Ban him for a game. I agree with. And then that would have just taken the sting out of everything. If he just got banned for 1 game, the Watford game, I think we'd have just all got on with our lives. Got a fine, the maximum that the club could impose on him, ban him for a game, make sure that he has some sort of animal cruelty sort of seminar, whatever it is, and that would, honestly, I'm not belittling it, but that would have been enough. Anyway, I did hear Achichi was sacked for kicking a horse. I don't know the whole story. Don't know. Duke, people are saying people who are saying they're the same thing, or even trying to make comparisons, are just ridiculous. Don't think anyone. Good point, but I don't think anyone is comparing what, say, Mason Greenwood did or racism, etc., to this. They're all different. They're all bad at their own level. WHU, the irony of Zouma was an ambassador for a French charity that supports big cats. Absolutely. Adam, if we got players in, it tells you how bad the January transfer window was. I didn't understand. Sorry, mate. NWO. They could cut his feet off, wouldn't be enough for some. Oh, dear. Garino, heard Adidas are getting stick on social media for withdrawing sponsorship, yet they supported Suarez and the Qatari World Cup. Well, double standards, and these companies do have double standards, don't they? The other sponsor who withdrew from the club also sponsors Florida SeaWorld. That's what I mentioned earlier. Duke, 9-game ban. Suarez didn't get that, and he racially abused another player. 9-game ban. There you go. It is too much. But racial abuse, Antonio made a good point. David M, seeing the reactions of West Ham contents when Zouma was announced was utter disbelief. There was a lot. I mean, I'm trying not to belittle the situation, what happened, but boy, have we gone overboard. If ever, I mean, our fan base seems to get split about everything. And then there'd be people that say, he was rightly, he should be rightly kicked out of football and all that. And there's others that say, come on, sort of level it out a bit. But we do love to sort of split ourselves, don't we, as a fan base. GP, I would cancel Zouma's contract. Sorry, mate, I love you, but I don't agree. I think a 1-game ban or even a 2-game ban would have been enough. John, Man United as a club banned Greenwood, which is exactly what GSB should have done and taken the decision out of Moyes' hands. I agree with you. Player and Booze, who is it? Is it he has been removed from Sunday school? Well, apparently I thought so too. But apparently now he's not been removed. So there's differing stories that go out, because I read that last night that he was taken out of the squad for the weekend, and now I've heard that he will be in the squad for the weekend. Vinay, cat video very disturbing. All sponsors will leave. GSB wake up. I don't think they will all leave. I think Heineken made a statement today, kind of like trying to distance themselves. So I don't think they will all leave, but 1 or 2 more may certainly leave. Hammer it. I'm sure if we had got a decent centre back in the window, they may have dropped Zouma for a couple of games. I agree with you there. Tabletop ramble. Reckon Rice could get away with a mass murder and still play? Probably not wrong. Robert, the authorities need to deal with it, not the employer. If he wasn't a footballer, would there be the same outrage? Probably not. Everyone's jumped on the bandwagon. Again, try not to belittle it, but I think you've got a point there, Robert. Skipper, these players are role models, and this is what I'm trying to say. And I think this is why I'm disappointed that he was picked for the game, because you've taken the words right out of my mouth, because they are role models. Youngsters will look at it and go, oh, well, he's still playing. Oh, we've got a little bit of a fine. Fine. It's fine for us then to do the same thing. This is what I'm worried about. And Moyes' moral compass by picking him to play kind of got a bit hit there. Helen, what purpose would him being suspended serve? He will still get his wages. The only thing suffering will be the club and fans. True, Helen, I agree with that. But I think it would have shown a level of morality within the club, even if it got a one-game ban. Darren, the knicker wetting by some of our fans is embarrassing. It has gone mad. I won't disagree. Stuart, he has been fined still. I get your point, but there are many disciplinary issues in work. Yeah, he has been fined. I think a one-game ban would have just eased it all a little bit in the media. Vinay, keep Zouma in the first team is Faustian pact. Nothing good will come from it. John, Karen Brady is meant to be a PR expert, and thus, as some sponsors are walking away, even more, she should be telling the board to ban Zouma. Now it's too late. I think the damage is already done. Ewan, sorry. How can Zouma be punished without club fans suffering equally or not more? No, they if he was taken out of the team on Tuesday night against Watford and we drew or lost, that would have been us suffering. But I honestly think it would have been the right thing to do. WHU, I think it's time West Ham United set up a minimum contract standards where the club can end players' contracts without foregoing any financial penalty if they bring the club into disrepute. How would that work, though? You just paid out a 29 million pound fee for the player. How do you get that money back? You lose it. It's gone. It's lost. Yeah, maybe you can say, right, well, you don't get paid again for the rest of your contract. Maybe, but you still forked out 29 million pound. David, what was inappropriate was the players hugging one another before the match, including Zouma. Claret Blues, is it Nick behind the screen there? Moyes was wrong, but so would GSB. Wrong approach from top to bottom. Picking him had made things 100 times worse than it need be. And this is my point, I think. Picking him just made it worse. Whereas we could have taken the sting out of the situation had we just said, you're not going to play for this game. Whatever the outcome would have been. John, I respect Moyes. I think as a manager, you pick the best players available to get your team the result. I think if anyone is to blame, it'd be the club for not suspending him, not Moyes. Good point. I think Moyes should have been told. I agree. I actually do agree with you. I think Moyes should have been told, you're not to pick the player. We will ban him for one game. So that's a good point. Maybe they should have taken the decision out of Moyes' hands. Adam, too many outlets are jumping on this to make West Ham look bad. They don't like us and never give us credit. But as soon as something goes wrong, they're on the bandwagon. I hate to be that conspiracy theorist, but I do kind of agree with you. It always feels like, maybe it's because we're in the bubble of West Ham that anytime something happens, it just goes, it explodes, doesn't it? Super Haraj. Any thoughts on Antonio's comments to the press? I thought they were interesting comments, and I think he was kind of caught off guard. He was in his car. It wasn't a planned interview, and he was asked for his thoughts. And I think good point. I think Antonio's right. He wasn't belittling what Zouma did, but he's absolutely right. You can get involved in some sort of like someone said about. Other player, you can do something, a racial abuse, etc., and the charges will be less. Look what happens at football pitches, especially away pitches, etc., when there's racial abuse going on in Europe and so on, and the clubs get a small fine, a lesser fine than Kurt Zouma did. Trini, Carragher spat at a child. O'Hara and Collingwood both battered their wives and girlfriends, and people ignored it, and they are all employed in highly paid jobs. He's been punished. Move on. That's a really, really good point. No one's, they're all bad on their own level, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. People are. My point is, though, Trini, is what I go back to. I think it would have been a lot better had Zouma not been picked for that game against Watford, and I think we would have, by now, I think we would have moved on. Kaiser, you agree with Antonio's comments. Jason, good afternoon to you. Tabletop Ramble. Arteta was brave enough to drop Aubameyang, who was the captain. I think that sent a huge message to the squad and even the league. What message does this send? And exactly my point. I think this has sent the fact that Moyes decided to pick him to play the game sent the wrong message. And I think it's not done Moyes himself, his integrity any good either, to be honest with you. Trini, everyone judging him have done worse than they just have not been caught out or man enough to admit it. Good point. Hammerette, the future backlash at games by most of our fans and the opposition will be a deserved ongoing punishment alongside the others. WHU, I may be wrong still, but according to Simon Jordan, the club could have given him a 6-week wages fine, but he only got 2. What does that say about us? From my understanding, I don't know. I'll take your word for that. I thought my understanding is that they have given him the maximum fine, which was 2 weeks. But, I will... If you're right about the 6 weeks, then maybe they should have fined him 6 weeks. Yeah, exactly. Trini, if he is banned, I hope we lose all the games he is out. People will then be singing a different tune. Yeah, good point. English Yardie, good afternoon to you. Spot on. I remember those incidents. Oh, yeah, the incidents of Carragher, etc. I do too. Let's scroll down. Claret and Booze. What annoys me with anything like this, if your opinion is anything less than a firing squad for the offender, you are labelled as an animal hater. Nobody agrees with what he did. Yeah, I agree with you there. If you're not, lining him up and shooting him against the wall, apparently you're scum. GP. If Stell did that to his cats, I doubt Anton would have him on the next day's through. GP, if I did that to my cats, my missus will chop my balls off and probably feed them to the cats. NWO, this is such bollocks. It wasn't a dog or a human. NWO, no, I'm sorry, but if it was a dog, a human, doesn't matter. Cat, it's all the same. But thank you for your point. Trini, is £200,000 fine is going to the RSPCA? Yes, I believe it is. John, Gold and Sullivan are not only custodians of our club, but they're also supposedly West Ham fans. Well, the buck stops with them. Let's scroll down. Adam, remember all the players who drink and drive and beat their girlfriends or wives and still play football? It's a joke how everyone is making it worse and by going on about it. I know, and I'm guilty of that by doing this video. Apache, problem with leaving Zouma out is how many games do you leave him out, though? Lots of people will still be unhappy. No, I think the point of this video was I think he should have been kept out of the Watford game, and that probably would have been just enough to just take the sting out of this story, to be honest with you. Helen, his brother is at Dagenham, but he isn't getting the flack that Zouma and West Ham United is getting. No, not yet, but maybe after that comment he might do. NWO, rape, racism, wife beating, all far worse than putting a toe up the arse of it. NWO, I cannot agree with you, mate. And they're all bad in their own right, but kicking a cat or hurting any animal is bad in its own way. And English Yardie, his brother's a dick, excuse my language. Well, we've got worse, but I mean, what was his brother effing well thinking of by putting that up and thinking it was funny? Michael F. Moyes should have not played him. I agree. I was shocked to see his name on the team sheet. I think we all were, mate. John, I do question the intelligence of players. I mean, they know the ramifications of things caught on social media. By the way, I'm not saying it off camera means it is okay. I agree with you, though, mate. What was his brother thinking of? WHU, they banned Cantona for 6 months for playing, for attacking a fan in the stands. What should Zouma get? 1 game ban would have done. The Watford game would have been, in my mind, enough. It would have been in. That's all that Moyes had to do. Moyes should have just taken it and gone, all right, I know you are a better defender, etc., etc. Take that hit, get him out of the limelight, tell him you're not playing in this game, because people would have gone and gone, fair play, David Moyes. I think you did the right thing there. Other people calling for more bans and sackings and all that. Well, then, leave them to it. I just think for this situation, because it was so raw and all Moyes had to do was go, I've got to take this hit. I've got to, for the integrity of the club, the integrity of the squad, take this player out of the limelight, and take that hit. And what will be, will be. I think that would have been more than enough. And I think by now we'd probably be moving on. Stuart, let's focus on Leicester because the press have been all over it and we don't need it. No. And this is my point. Had David Moyes had not played Zouma, would have been now focusing on Leicester and nothing else. Let's scroll down. Trini, Greenwood is accused of rape, not the same thing. People really reaching to make a non-existent point. You can't, I know people are trying to compare the two. I get it, but as I keep saying, they're as bad as each other in their own right. Super Haraj, have I pronounced your name? Super Haraj. The board need to give some shit. Need to be given some shit about Zouma. Make him a focal point of education and redemption. This is, yeah. I think they now, the board need to come out and say Zouma's on this education course about animal cruelty or whatever. You know, take his brother with him. Leave the cameras at home, and also maybe take the son as well, so you can learn that animal cruelty is not the right thing to do. PGADS. I was okay with Moyes playing him. He really felt the wrath of fans, and hopefully the rest of the squad had a good talk to him. Yeah, I wasn't okay with him playing him, you know, and as much as it may have cost us the win, I think it would have been the right thing to keep him out. Robert, was he action actually while he was at Chelsea? Do we know? Some people are saying he was. I don't know, to be quite honest with you. Adam, football is all about double standards. Look how the refs are for big clubs, but nothing said about that and nothing gets done about it. Yeah, good point. Apache, to me, leaving him one game out would smack of tokenism. Better than nothing, though, Apache. You know, probably, but at least it would have demonstrated that the board, that Moyes, etc., was taking this as seriously as they should have done. Tokenism, perhaps, but at least it would have shown the right approach, the right attitude. Steve, someone else has said, I'll get grief from opposing supporters for years to come. Yeah, I had a Chelsea. I've got a mate who's a Chelsea fan, was laughing at me, and I went, "You sold him to us, mate. So don't get out of your high horse." Hammerette, Moyes isn't going to come out of this unscathed, regardless of any of his decisions. I agree. He's not coming out of it unscathed. Trini, there's no integrity in football. It's all about money. That's why you have gambling companies sponsoring football clubs, which will soon be over if the government have their way. GP, cancel Zouma's contract would be best. If we lose sponsors, we will lose money, and GSB already tight bastards. I can't, with the respect to you, mate, I really can't agree to cancel his contract. I think he might be sold in the summer. I think Moyes may go, right, well, you're being sold in the summer, you know, get you out of the club. Garino, in football, we have seen rapists. Yeah, we've done that one. Thank you, mate. Claret and Booze, the board being wrong is not being contested. I think I've said it. It doesn't mean that Moyes was right. Moyes had his own choice to make, and he chose wrong. The board should have intervened. Yeah. And they should have said, don't pick him. Pat, good afternoon to you. Why punish the team and the fans by not playing our best central defender? Because it's the integrity. This is about morals. It's about integrity. And it's about the standards that Moyes himself, as I started off saying in the show, it's more what Moyes himself has set. Moyes has set standards. Not only about, you know, saying about, I don't want to bring players in who aren't going to improve the squad, but he talks about, you know, players' integrity as well. You know, he won't buy a player. Look at us. We were calling out for Barbosa, for example, that we should be buying Barbosa. That yet we know Barbosa's got an attitude. And Moyes won't, despite how good he might be, Moyes won't go out and buy a player who he doesn't believe has got the right attitude, the right integrity. So I think in this particular case, Moyes is created his own double standard because, you know, he talks about integrity, he talks about having the right type of player at the club, you know, right attitude, etc., etc. He could have actually shown that by actually dropping him for that game. We might have lost the game, we might have only drawn the game, but I think that's the hit you've got to take. Michael F, board were right to leave the choice with the manager. They own the club, they run the club. I think they should have maybe stepped in and gone, don't pick him. I actually think they could have and should have maybe taken that decision out of Moyes' hand. Adam, it was bad, but worse has been done. And when they play for big clubs, it's all forgotten and forgiven. Well, I'm not sure about that. But let's see what happens to Greenwood. His career's completely finished. Trini, if you put a dolphin in the cage, it is mistreatment. They could swim miles a day. Kind of what I alluded to about the irony of Kissimmee, you know, stopping their contracts, their sponsorship with us. The irony. They have dolphins in cages for entertainment. I'm sure they get treated right. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not accusing them of mistreating dolphins before anyone comes down my throat. But you know, I think it was a bit of an irony. Belka, Zouma should play because you can hear and see the fans who are either chanting at what he did, but also those who booed. He plays football for a job and should hear all the criticism. Fair enough. Good afternoon to you, Richard. I hope you're well. Is it live? Good grief, it's live. Yes, it's live. Can't you see I'm struggling, Mandy? We're still on this one. Zouma shouldn't have started. Teacher, good afternoon to you. WHU. It seemed that the booing of Zouma against Watford made him play quite well. Or was he only hearing Zouma in his own mind? Who knows? because I actually, from where I was, well, we on the other side of the pit, we didn't hear any booing. We weren't burning the Bobby Moore lower. Maybe it's just the away fans. I don't know. GP. I wish to be reincarnated as one of Stell's cats. Bedfordshire Hammer. The thing is, though, GP, I keep forgetting to feed them. It's the other half that feeds. She comes home and goes, have you fed the cats? And we're like, oh, yeah, I forgot. So you'd starve if you were reincarnated as one of my cats, mate. Bedfordshire Hammer. And again, don't start having a go at me. I don't mistreat my cats. Bedfordshire Hammer. Afternoon Stoke integrities, and this is what I think this is about. This is about the integrities, not what he done or the punishment, etc. It's about the integrity, not only of the footballer but of the club, of Moyes setting his standards, etc. And he could have taken the sting out of it had he just dropped him for the Watford game. NWO, don't let him near animal. Don't let who near animal. I'm not going to let you, any of you lot, near my cats, I think. Apache, if the club doesn't ban Zouma, Moyes has every right to pick him. That's why I think it should have been taken out of his hands. Black Country, I blame the board. Shouldn't have played Tuesday. Great PR. Yeah, that's what I think. Garino, the club should also invite the RSPCA to do something like an open day at the stadium, raise awareness, fundraising, let the poodles loose down the touchline. Can tackle them. I actually like that idea, though, about inviting the RSPCA to the stadium, awareness raising, build up awareness about animal cruelty, etc. That's a really good point. As for Masuaku, please don't. We don't want to embarrass him any more than he's already embarrassed himself, do we? On a lighter note, it's Manu's birthday in 5 days. Yeah, we know you've got a bit of a Manu a Lanzini crush. Eamon, sorry, but I think he should be sold at the end of the season. Don't want someone with that mentality representing the club. I actually think, Eamon, I think he will be sold, to be honest with you. Mandy, I heard a rumour stating that Zouma did that to the cat while under. Yeah, we talked about that. Doesn't change what he did. But yeah, I actually honestly don't know. Some stories are saying that it was while he was at Chelsea. Other stories are suggesting it was more recent. But you're absolutely right. Doesn't matter who he played for. It was wrong. Belka, I dislike when people from other teams are like, this player shouldn't play. Would they have said that if there was their player who was crucial to us? Of course they wouldn't have done. Of course they wouldn't have done. They would have allowed it to happen. Oh, no, they wouldn't have allowed it. God, I've got to be careful with my words. They would have just gone, oh, what's all the fuss about? Jason, the board should have known playing him would cause problems with the sponsors, surely. That's why I think it was Moyes' choice. I think, but then, Jason, you're absolutely right. I think the board should have got in there and stopped him from playing. Helen, so if he is dropped for the Leicester game, what purpose would that serve rather than being played on Tuesday? This is exactly my point, Helen. I think he should have been dropped for the Watford game, and then he, would be okay to play. I actually don't think he'll be dropped for Leicester by the sounds of it. Colin, good afternoon to you. Moyes was right to play him. He is there to be played. Yeah, I hear that. I think it was wrong. Eric, good afternoon to you. Put wet spam in League 2. Thank you for joining and boosting our numbers, whoever you support, Eric. Jason, Sullivan loves to interfere. Then when he shouldn't, he doesn't. When he should, he doesn't. Good point. Let's scroll down. John, take the cuts away. Already done. Fine him. Already done. Play him again once he has served working 50 at an animal sanctuary. Well, some community service or something. Definitely some animal awareness. I think he should be put on. Michael, 2-game ban and a fine with time spent at a cattery would be enough. Can't release him as another club would sign. Now, if it was Yarmolenko, West Ham would probably cancel his contract as he had no value. Good point. Father Snowman, I see Spuds are telling their fans to stop using the Y word. Good luck for that one. Belka, I know that this is beside the point, but let's hope Carol Baskin is okay. Never even watched Tiger King or whatever the hell that is. You've lost me completely. I don't know what you're talking about. Clearly, I've missed something that's on TV or something. Let's scroll down. I can't do all the comments, but I'll do a few more as I can. It's been dealt with. What we're still talking about. Move on. Agreed. And I won't talk about it after today. Amen. Antonio made a shit point. No comparison. Antonio's an idiot. What has racism got to? I think he was trying to sort of do a comparison. Look, people get away with far less when they're being racist than what's the whole outcry about Zouma. I kind of get what he was trying to say. Click, do you think the FA will get it? I actually don't think they will, to be honest with you. I think they'll leave it to the investigation with RSPCA. RSPCA will probably, I don't know what outcome they'll apparently they knew about this before even the video was released. GP, I'm not for cancelling his contract because of what he'd done, but if sponsors keep dropping where I was trying to find out before I did the show this morning, today, as to what our value of sponsorship is. I'm not so sure. I don't think it's that much. I think it's bearable. I think the only value is the Betway one. But you are right though, GP. You know, if any more sponsors leave, then it wouldn't be good for us. Trini, GP, please, did you say any of this for players who racially abused others and nothing happened? Guess not. It's bad, but there is worse things you all ignore. Eamon, if some players are racist, well, then it's up to the other players to call them out. So then the authorities and fans can make judgment on them. Father Snowman, fact is that Green was not banned straight away. Man U banned him after complaint from woman and police charges. But were they aware of it until she made the complaint? I don't know. I don't know. Right, I'm going to go. I'll do a couple more and then I'll go. Richard, football is entertainment. Zouma is an entertainer. Any other entertainer in another profession would have been more harshly dealt with. Jack Mack, hi Estelle. The social. How are you, Jack? I hope you're well, mate. The social responsibility players and clubs have is massive in the modern media age. Really needs to be investigated. How long have the players been getting away with a variety of issues? Good point. Good point. Hammerette, Eamon, I'm not defending Zouma by any stretch. He is discussing just a shitstorm on social media that's blown up frantically is doing my head in. It is a bit much now. Dangerous sod. At least it ain't Greenwood. We can still get top 6 if lucky. Ashley, he's defo right. There's a lot of crime hanging about at the moment and odd situations surrounding them. Look at Sigurdsson, disappeared but still signed at Everton. Good point, Ashley. Yeah, make you right. Evan, Man United have the depth to throw their weight around with their players. We depend heavily on a small number of players, do or die. Goes back to the transfer window. We could have done something about that then. Jack, the way our club handled the Suarez was a disgrace. If people in power, FIFA, etc., approaching every case with the same punishment, more harder, not little fines such as big crime. Yeah, good point. You know, so let the punishment fit the crime. You know, absolutely. DJR. The board made a financial decision by leaving it to Moyes. They effectively said, play the player. Time will tell if it was worth it. And I tell you what, I'm going to do Adam, a couple more, and then I've got to go. I even freaked out on some chats when I saw him in the squad. But remember, Di Canio got banned for pushing a ref. It's double standards. Norman, why are you on about him playing Tuesday? It's happened, forget it. I'm on and on about it because I think it called David Moyes' integrity into question. And that's the point of this. It's about the integrity, what David Moyes has set standards on at the club, you know, about the type of players he wants there, honest players, you know, players with integrity, morality and all that sort of stuff. That's why. And I think it was a shame that David Moyes didn't stick to his mantra by not selecting him for that game. That's the point I was trying to make. Let's scroll down. Football and Oi Music, good afternoon to you. He should have been banned for a couple of games and fine. But as a vegetarian, I find meat eaters complaining about it a bit hypocritical. Good point. Garant, good afternoon to you. If he was left off the game, this would have given the media momentum. If he was left off the game, this would have given the media momentum to take this to another level. The cancel culture is rife at the moment, and West Ham didn't bow to it. Yet Zouma is still an idiot. He is still an idiot. I still think he should have been banned for that one game. But anyway. Right, people. Thank you all for getting involved. My appreciation for that. I can't, you know, there's still lots of comments. I simply can't because I've got to go back to work and leave you guys to get back to work if you're all working as well. Thank you all for joining in. Much appreciated. There's another show on tonight. I won't be on it, but do join in.
and see you all later.